Well, I'll mention before I have to go to work.
I don't know, I just woke up a little while ago.
Great seeing Izzy, but it was only for a second. You can come in. I'm just spraying shit in the house.
All right.
Oh,
You guys see
I'm
that?
gonna see
yeah,
that.
that's what I'm trying to get to. I was gonna go get tobacco and shit, but man, it took so long at the house, and then I had to poop. And then Izzy called. I was hoping to meet her here, but they said there's better. But then again, if Vince was taking her to Eugene, maybe he hopped I-5 Portland. And that's why they didn't want to talk about this way, because I thought, well, I'm heading to Luke's in a second, and you sure don't want to meet me there? Because they called from Fred Myers. You know?
I didn't even know Izzy was in town.
I didn't either. I tried calling her this morning. She said she got a voicemail. And I said, well, I didn't know if it connected or not, you know. Yeah, so anyway. Now didn't look that bad, I don't think. Not leaving all of this, I still can't find the new dish soap for nothing. You know. But of course I'm in a thing. I forgot to take an empty thing. Or maybe I did and don't know where I put it. Fuck.
Can I talk when y'all out of a cigarette?
Yeah, here. I have an open pack too. I was gonna grab tobacco and take the bottles and cans in, but shit. By the time I got downtown, it's like fuck, and then felt so fucking sleepy. I didn't even want to drive. I was just like totally out of it. And the way of my house, you can't even walk in. I couldn't push it farther. And he wasn't home. I guess I was supposed to be there Friday. Well, he mentioned Friday, but last time he was counted. I'm gonna drag. Yeah, it out. One of them come up next to the fire. Got a sliver. Somebody
damn it, I
needs
forgot
to pick
this
it out.
one.
Probably have one somewhere.
I
I
have one.
don't know where. I started organizing some of my little shit and stuff Renee gave me, but then I'm like, why am I still doing this? Because I wanted to go early and come back early. Or maybe go to church. Zach was gonna go to the river. I don't know if that was stadium, I've seen walking just now. But oof. I don't know if you'd want to go anywhere. Forgot to take a picture of me and Izzy. You look great. You need a nap. I don't know how to get one unless I go get all wet somewhere. Like I was gone 100 years. All I wanted to do was get dish soap, check on the house, check the mail. Maybe see if I could get a hold of my friend. Maybe I should have went there before my house. Because this kid had said he had gone to church. Oh, I don't know which one. Maybe it was at the one by my house. I don't even know what all the papers said. I think I was supposed to call them by now. I can't remember because I glanced at the one, I'm thinking, and is that even so? And then I started reading the other one, fucking, whatever day I called today, Friday. And Thursday, your day off that I slept till fucking super late. Yeah.
I was gonna see about organizing for a time to go in tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know what time because I don't know if I'm truly having an inspection or what. And my care lady's coming in on her day off, but I did read on the window that maybe they're not in the office all the time right now. And in this last couple of weeks, I didn't read my papers because sometimes you get bogus ones that they didn't really mean. In this case, they might. And so I have my whole house to finish because I was doing pretty good at catching up on both places. Then we had a couple hard days, and I had a couple days I slept all fucking day. So if I get a good nap, I cool down pretty soon and recruit hopefully my friend's back over there. I can talk him and out. Started talking to Zach about it, but I took so long getting back here. I don't know if he went to the river or what. So I don't know what time to try to arrange, considering I may have an inspection tomorrow, and I'm hoping I don't, because everything's a mess. And I don't know what to do. So, go grab my birthday. Freaking easy. I thought I was getting my tear, and sometimes I dig into too many areas, so I don't know what time to try to time that. I feel like shit today. I'm trying to figure out how I can pull off that tomorrow and find the other paper. I started reading one of them. I don't know where I stuck it, and I can't remember where the other envelope is now after going back and forth and having things organized and not, and then organized. I'm so fucking hot now. So, but see, you wanted me to go in tomorrow, and I don't know what time to tell him because I don't know what I'm gonna pull off right now. Should be there doing it right now. Really kind of out of it. So like shit time. Oh fuck. Gonna try to see about getting a fan. Didn't we have a couple fans? I was gonna try to talk somebody into fixing. That was okay. I didn't even know you texted. No. How about that?
I don't know.
I mean, what was wrong with the big huge black one? Did the string get stuck?
I can't remember.
Yeah. We were trying to remember what was wrong with the big black one in case I could talk. I don't know what time to try to tell you. Because I'm having a huge panic attack and not sure how my thing's gonna go tomorrow. And if, I was gonna try to put it off once I did read it. And the lady was gone the 1 week. And then last week, I forgot to talk to her about it, or I just didn't have the papers handy and it was active time. And then I called her Friday last minute, and care was closing, and she said she'd come in tomorrow, even though she works Wednesday through Friday, to deal with it. But I'm gonna have to text her. God, what did I write her freaking number on? Shit. Anyway, I have her cell. I forgot what I wrote it on when I was talking to her on the phone. Hopefully my regular tablet.
Yeah, that's one of the things about me not having a place. I got to do that all in my car, and I got to shuffle through everything. The fact that they haven't taken a look at the conditions that I'm living in at all is immoral. It's also illegal. The fact is, they're supposed to inspect my living situation. They're supposed to do that with an officer and an adult protective services person, and they're supposed to do that right away. That's supposed to be the first thing they do.
Oh God.
And literally in 6 years, they have not done that.
Have you tried? Well, care can be a pain in the butt, and they can be fickle. And sometimes it's just the rigmarole people have to go through to get a tiny house or get placed into housing. And
Well, I'm not
sometimes
going to
there's
them for that.
inner politics, and so like a lot of the crap some people would like when I go do art at Tides of Change or at Care, and then I'd have to refute that.
They're
Then here would come a trickle later.
they're taking taxpayer dollars for that, though. That's the thing, is that when it needs to go to a mandated reporter, and the police are sending us to Care, that's not what the police are supposed to do. The police are supposed to call Adult Protective Services.
Ah.
That's the first thing they're supposed to do. When they're sending us to Care, they're committing.
Well, I just work through them to help get reduced rent and power and stuff.
And that's really important and all that. But most of us, the reason that we end up getting sent to those places is supposed to be mandated reporters, and we get to them and they don't do their job either. They make us, but they give us numbers to resources, and we go around in circles calling resources. When it comes to the housing thing, yes, that's absolutely important, but what is more important is the immediate safety of the victim. Right. And the preservation of the evidence, and they're not doing anything about that.
Anything that was, I've had false fingers pointed at me left and right, and any injustice, they just let it slide. It's been a really weird ride, man. I mean, I was hoping, some of this weird shit I've been through was like, it'd be, I'd be embarrassed if it was a delusion, but I would be relieved.
Right?
You know what I
Oh my
mean?
God,
Because I've been
yes.
through the, I mean, like
They
the
send you
weirdest
around
thing.
in
I mean, I've been
circles.
through weird shit different places, but this place has gotten bad, and I don't get it because I'm nice to people. I pick up other people's trash. I'm eccentric, big deal. Um, I don't know, but it's been a rough one. And the place where I live has been nothing but a nightmare. Before my motorhome was ransacked, I wanted it parked here. I would have got to see his dad again. He could have visited any time. My son's vehicle or girlfriend or whatever that he sent down and sent me down in to get my car emptied out so I could get that fixed. He wanted to move me to Portland. Well, that was messed with. My car was messed with. When, like parking ticket lady, there was a lot of people that wouldn't, do that. You got to move your car at so much, you know, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And a lot of them didn't move barely at all, or if at all. And I'm not trying to be mean to them, but she literally harassed me. The I think handwriting
Are you
retired,
talking
but
about the lady from the city of Tillamook Code Enforcement?
yes, I
My
think
God, that
so.
woman
As
is
far
fucking mean.
Coleman, yes, she was horrible. She knocked the door open. I mean, like some people, like they were on the same place at First Christian or right there on Laurel, and I had three. I was trying to, because my car was kind of fixed by then, although I was
She
having
was
car
telling me
troubles.
at
My
10 o'clock in the
kids,
morning and badgering us heavy. Me and another guy who were there at 10 o'clock in the morning at the park over by Rosenberg's, and she was yelling at us and being all sorts of rude to us and telling us that we had to leave, that we're not allowed to be there before 6. I'm like, it's after 6 by 4 full hours.
right.
If you're going to try to yell at us for doing something wrong, do it while we're doing something wrong. It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right, right. See, I went through the craziest things with that one where as other people that, and I'm not trying to be mean about some of them and their choices, but they weren't, I mean, some of them became a
They're
little
all
better
blatantly
citizen
breaking the laws
minded,
and they all know it.
but they weren't citizen minded. And I'm not saying I, like, that's perfect and I associate with all sorts of people. I'm just a people magnet. I don't necessarily like all that, but I guess it's part of my job on the planet. But it's, it was nuts. And even officer handwriting, like paper signing time, another hoop jump to try to get this pad that's been a nightmare,
He
unfortunately.
talked nice, but
But
he's useless.
he would just he tried to say, hey, go check out that car because there was one nobody knew in the neighborhood that had been parked there for a bit, and she knew I was struggling, and sometimes like helpers wouldn't come because they'd get paranoid, and Officer Handwriting knew that, hey, even square people, no offense, but not they people get a little chicken, like he treated me like a human. I appreciated that. I tried to get her. She wasn't supposed to harass me. Oh, it's fine, Lori. And then the next day at my house again, when my motorhome was ransacked,
Well,
and they
by
wanted it
law,
moved.
do you get disability
And
money?
yes, and I said,
By law, they should have gotten Adult Protective Services involved in me.
and I told them, yeah, but what happened was people heard I was going to my son's house, and that's when my motorhome was joy-ridden. I don't know when the garbage was dumped in it, and they parked it on 8th, and then they took it back to 3rd. I says, hey man, it's a citizen whose vehicle was violated and the battery stolen. I said, hey, here's what happened. Here's who said their involvement was. Can you please get my battery back? Can we please, have this documented because it's not legal.
Right.
Okay, and when and can you retrieve the batteries? Because I'll be more than happy. I don't want to be a burden to you.
Well,
You know what
one
I
of the
mean?
things
To
they keep
move it.
one of
And
the things they
they
keep
did
doing to
nothing
me,
about
I have to be provided with a place where I can sit down and make a police report, where I can sit down and write it. I need a place for they are supposed to legally provide a place where I can sit down and do that. Now, one of the complications that I have is that everywhere that I go, there's somebody who is either drunk, stoned, on drugs, and they talk nonstop. And then, like, for me to get help, I'm going to these places that are supposed to help me. They're pretending to listen, but they're not following the law. I try to explain over and over again, hey, these people aren't following the law. I need help because they're harming me. I've been harmed for 6 years because they're not following the law. I need somebody to listen and explain that I'm being harmed because mandated reporters aren't following the law. But then, of course, almost everybody who says that they'll help me, I end up getting pounded full, a whole head full of everything they've had going on for the last 20 years. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle what I'm going through. I need something so simple. And like, I'm getting overwhelmed because I don't have anything complete and sent to check this out. On multiple occasions, these places that are supposed to be mandated reporters, instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters, they wanted me to sign up and give them my government disability money so that they could do their jobs as mandated reporters.
What?
I'll give you an
That
example.
happened here?
When
I'm
they
not
send you to a
telling you, I'm
therapist,
just flabbergasted, okay?
when they send you to a therapist,
Right.
that therapist is a mandated reporter. When a police officer sends you to those places like TFCC, you are being sent there because those places are mandated reporters. So when you tell them about the abuse that you're going through, and they do anything other than call the police and adult protective services immediately to try to make sure that you're safe is a concern, and that the preservation of the evidence is done, and that you have a safe place to make the report.
Yeah, see, by
And
the,
they're going out of their way to create a situation where I am unsafe because of the police, because none of these mandated reporters have done their jobs. And then the other programs they want to set you up for, oh, well, we want you to go to this meeting, and we want you to go to that meeting, and we want you to go to 5 other places for therapy too, and we're going to give you a whole bunch of phone numbers to call because you're still trying to get us to do our job as a mandated reporter, and we don't want to do it. They don't have the option. The only time that they have the option of doing that is when they're outright breaking the law, because I have to go in by myself. Nobody says the words, he is disabled, he is being abused. Any retard can look at what I'm going through, look at the evidence, and say those words. Anybody with an IQ of a rock can look at the evidence and know that. But instead, even these mandated reporters, they talk over me. They start telling me about their own personal business. They start telling me about their own families. And then they start saying things to try to deter me from turning in my predators, saying, oh, well, it won't work. I've been in the field for this many years. And, you know, I quit this place or I quit that place. Danelle Boggs quit her job at TFCC because they weren't following the law. So now she's working for TCCHC. They're still not following the law.
see,
And I recorded Dr. Danelle Boggs not following the law as a mandated reporter. So the thing is, for the Department of Health and Human Services to, when I'm telling them that these people are committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud, which is what it is. You go them, you tell them a crime that was committed against you, you are an at-risk adult. They do not get to pretend that you're not an at-risk adult. You get a paycheck for being an at-risk adult. So when you go to them, they morally get a hold of Adult Protective Services, the police. That is the only thing that they're allowed to do at that point. Once you've told them that crimes were committed against you, that is what they have to do. If they try to get your card and get you to set up for a meeting in 3 weeks, then they're breaking the law by doing that, and they're committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud. So that's one of the things that they're doing. We're being sent to places that are committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud instead of calling Adult Protective Services and the police and making sure that our safety and our evidence is guaranteed. It is easy to take advantage of us, especially somebody like you or somebody like me who talks really fast when they're overwhelmed or is naturally high strung.
right, especially if the people don't believe or kind of put me down, or, you know, sometimes they'll, you
By
know,
law,
it's a
they have to
word or
believe.
two, or it's like,
By
you know,
law,
like
they
they'll
have to
talk
believe.
down to you, and even fake, you know, some of this outlandish stuff, or when people were, you know,
Or they
those are
interrupt you
hogwash, and
repeatedly, like I'm doing now, to tell you, you're so strong, you're so strong.
she'll admit, oh, Lori, you know, you're very bright. Well,
Yes, now
that's as far as
acknowledge
it
that.
goes. But see, too bad everything was so crazy.
But the
'cause
mentally
after I
ill thing
fight,
denies
you know,
your
shit, I could've
intelligence, and it
looked
also
up.
denies your rights as a
I
disabled
should have had
person.
an attorney, or maybe I don't know who advocates a disability
And they're
services,
supposed
but
to have people
so
for
much
that,
of
and they
this,
send
you
you.
know,
All right, you know the peer support groups that they have here, and you go and it's basically an AA group, but instead of being about drinking and destroying everybody's lives and feeling sorry for ourselves, you go to the meeting and you listen to a bunch of people talk about how their mental illnesses affect them and how people treat them because of their mental illnesses, but it's just a bunch of nut jobs talking in circles, basically. No offense, because I'm one of the nut jobs. But they get services for that. They also want to make sure that it's a dual diagnosis clinic. They want you to be on drugs or have a drug addiction so that they can write that down, because they get an increased 30% funding immediately right off the top.
unfortunately, that's I mean, I've lived in other counties. I've been back here a bit, and I've experienced the run around in other places, but this time back home, I was first called Miser Man by the police, and then false finger pointers, and the ones really doing it want to say like whatever it is.
We call them Karens, and the cops will listen to the Karens.
And I should have never.
They'll come harass you over word of mouth by a Karen, and then they'll tell you that it's when you try to turn something in, they won't go bother to investigate it because they say it's your word versus theirs.
And the times I can go in calm or have a person that will help, so in case I get exacerbated, then there's people at the door, or if you deal with a different person each day, and then if I have to repeat myself again,
you have to start over at the beginning every time.
I had to pass to get in the building to have the safe place to do it. It exacerbates.
Or what they're not allowed to do is to separate you from your friend or family member who goes in with you, even if it's your lawyer, because you get disabled, you get disability money. You are an at-risk adult. You have the right to do that. And as far as a lot of us out here, we're having our rights violated because the state isn't doing their job to appoint us a guardian. If we have a guardian, we get a hold of a guardian as soon as the crime is committed, and they try to turn it in with us immediately. Kind of like somebody who has family. If somebody came and harmed you right now, your sons could go in with you to turn it in right now, and they could be there for your safety. Whereas if you went in alone to try to turn it in, there's a chance that they might beat you up, arrest you, or send you to a nuthatch and have you injected with Haldol.
Let them know a lot of this stuff, or if it slows down me going even to art or a meeting. And some of it's created within the system of the social services. And I end up becoming a snotty, stuttering mess, and then I'll get pissed off, and then I won't talk to them for a bit. They all raise the bar, because then I'll have to, pretty much do their job or teach them how to do it, and then endure it, and so much has slipped through the fingers. This dude, his dad used to be a state cop, and when these cops kept doing me dirty and harassing me, I just needed the balls up and certain things with the vehicles and other violations, many kinds. So I know who to talk to, so I could go above the county or the city, but
they send you around in circles anyway.
And so on days I'm willing and able, that I don't get the link or able to get there. And I know there's got to be somebody.
All right, let's say you were.
Who now?
I want to give you a scenario real quick. Let's say somebody assaulted you. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. There's actually criminal charges I'm trying to get pressed on them.
Unfortunately.
But let's say you were assaulted. You went to the police because you were assaulted. The police turn you over to TFCC. Now you go to TFCC. TFCC sends you up for a therapy appointment in 30 days. And the person who assaulted you is still in town.
Right.
And you see him and you're scared. And you still have to see him when you go to the grocery store, when you go to park, and there's not a lot of...
Even for cat food, or
now let's say
roll of toilet paper, or
let's say you've seen this guy and he's assaulted you.
They have a trauma art support thing.
Let's say you've been going to your therapy appointments. You've been going for 4 months. This guy has still been stalking you, still been harassing you, and they still send you around in circles, and you're still being stalked. And now he's assaulting you, and you're trying to go to the cops, and they're sending you to another county. Things like that. Now, the thing is that you still have to be afraid. Your predator has gotten away. They have made sure that enough time has passed since you tried to get a hold of them immediately.
By the time I actually get through, it's way past the point. Or I hit some brick wall. It's not just me being too nervous, too tired. I'm really busy.
Blown tire, your friend who's going to go gets cancer, stuff like that.
Catch up and do it. It's not just that poop day I oversleep, or, some happenstance, but I've been going.
Or you get the letter. You get the letter, and it's post dated after you were supposed to have an appointment. The letter says you were supposed to have an appointment November 2nd, but they didn't send it out until November 15th, and it didn't get to you until November 23rd. And then you've been denied because you didn't try, even though it was their clerical error, and they intentionally make errors.
Yep. I had it all in one spot, even at the place where I rent. Home. If I pay rent there, I want to feel like I have some privacy. I want to feel a sense of safety.
Okay.
But that hasn't been the case there. And a lot of it was just simply defamation of character.
Yep.
We don't want to say because we're your friends. If you're my friends you think I'm gacked, or then they thought because my blood sugar drops or my PTSD gets real high,
Yep.
then all of a sudden I go, "Poof," and I'm always tired, but I'll fall asleep, right? So all of a sudden, then, Faye calls, oh, and they got an email to one of the first managers when I first started living there. And they say they're your friends, so they don't want to, make it official, put their name on it. If they were my friends and literally, I mean, I'm friendly to people, but if they were my friends and they had legitimate concern about my safety and well-being, they would come to me and say, Lori, what's up? What can we do to help? Or what, Lori, what's up? This is what we think we're seeing. And is that so? You know what I mean? Oh, they say you're friend. So
I got
enough to
Tourette
raise
syndrome.
stink,
If I wink at you, it's
not
not because I'm on drugs or because I'm hitting on you. It's because I got Tourette's.
they did not want, and so I don't know. And some of the people I kind of liked, but I could tell the guy on my lease who was going to act like Nellie Willie Olson / Gargo. Unfortunately, my experience and my psyche were correct. I was hoping to be mistaken, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 of them. Now they act nicer and they quit causing grief, but like Luke doesn't even want to stop by anymore. I was trying to get Isaiah on his feet through here and get him back on his medical and maybe through mental health, but they've screwed him too. And it's just raised this huge dynamic that's worse than
And it's
being
making everything more
separated, or what it
expensive in
might
the long
appear
run.
like to my kids, or what he said, she said,
Well, the
over
question
years, and it's just kind of torn the family apart. And
the
when we
question
could
that
all
I
be
was
so
going to
much
ask
more
though,
forward.
like you were
Ahead,
saying that they set you up for art, and they obviously
No, I
set
like to
everybody up
go
for.
there. I
Yep.
just don't make it all the time.
Now let's imagine that you have the art thing that you're going to. You've been trying to turn this guy in for 4 months, and you literally just saw this guy, and he threatened to kill you right before your art thing. And you go in. Are you going to be able to do the art and actually use that
Not very well.
therapeutically?
And there's times, Eleanor's like, oh, blah, 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 and call the police. When your phone doesn't work and the stalker is right on your ass, it's not that easy. And especially as time went on, there's a couple decent officers, and some of them are coming back around after all the torture I've been through.
Some of them talk
You know what I'm
nice to
saying?
me, but they
But
didn't do
in
their
the beginning,
jobs.
they were, like polite as heck. And then it went, and handwriting was the only one. But then they wouldn't let me talk to that guy who knows, if I'm super stressed like this, he can catch most of what I'm saying. See? And I don't, my issues don't
Oh,
get
he quit.
exacerbated when
He
you have
retired.
a person that still, that you have a rapport with, that treats you with dignity, that doesn't just say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Well, he helped Robert Farnsworth. There was one assault against me and another against another lady, and he talked nice, but he was definitely threatening enough in his posture and composure that he let me know outright in his words when he said, you don't need to get a protection order against him. Like, no, I do. This guy's been doing this for weeks. But because he said that, I knew that was not a safe place to go. Because the thing is, Robert had been doing this to me and to other people at the church.
And me too. Because that used to be where I'd park. Hey, Luke, should I run to the house or should I come this way, where I park and make phone calls? Sometimes take a nap. I had people I knew that I visited in the Buell. I'd go visit Richard, the veteran dude that helped out there a lot. And I go to church there some. But there was the longest time, besides other people just kind of hemming up when I'm needing a moment, not trying to be rude, I couldn't stop there at all because he was always there. I mean, he'd act like he's, but he was not doing the gospel. He was doing some weird juju stuff.
And then he goes outside and he's a hateful person again. And then he comes back in and he's a pretending Jesus person. And then he goes outside of the church and he's a hateful person again.
Oh, right. Yeah, he tried to, I don't know. I forgot because he'd harass and threaten and all this weird, scary stuff.
He choked a woman out in 2018.
So, what's that?
He choked a woman out in 2018.
Yeah, he was creepy. And I had a lot of verbal assault and harassment from that guy, to where it was hard to even park there. And that was one of my spots, my room. Okay, now which way am I going next? Stop and look at my list, or stop and call the kids. You guys need something? Kind of decide, am I heading back that way or this way? A lot of my phone calling was there. I could safely take a nap there. I could safely enough, depending on which time period.
But when he's harassing you, you have to be afraid and go move somewhere else.
Yeah, it's been bad.
The other thing is, like, he was doing that to Lewis, but Lewis, I have on my channel how bad of an alcoholic he was, about how when Cheryl was going to help me, we basically were too busy babysitting him. I've also got him on video. He was asking me to hump him in his butthole. And you were saying yesterday that he was doing some creepy stuff too to some of the ladies. So
Yeah. Oh, the Lewis guy, you mean?
yep, Otter.
Otter, yes. When he got to really drunk, he was a real, like, okay, I grew up around crude friends. I even joke crudely sometimes. But there's that interim, like, hey, dude, I'm not in the mood right now, or that semi, and then there's a way foul. Absolutely not okay, even if we are friends and we do talk cross sometimes, that's past the border. And he would get like that. I rimmed his house and he's not in town anymore either.
I'm not sexually motivated at all.
But
So when I
trying to
harass
grab
people, it's
you and
definitely
pull
other
you into the
stuff.
bushes when he's too drunk.
He did that
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah, and he touched my butt down by Safeway, and sometimes he could be cool, but then sometimes not.
And
You
the
know,
thing is that women
it's
out
like
on the
creepy
streets,
bad, not like
yeah,
like, you know.
women out on the streets have to deal with that in a lot of cases daily. I mean, I
Yeah.
know women who won't zip up their sleeping bag because they don't want a man mounting up on top of them while they're in the sleeping bag and covering their face, because they've had the experience of that. But then
Right.
people go, well, it's snowing out. Why don't you zip up your sleeping bag? And they try to explain it. And, oh, well, you're just being paranoid. No, people do that. People will grab you and yank you in the bushes. They will grab your
Yeah,
tushy
I
because
mean,
they're
even
drunk,
just hanging
and
out
then
with
we
him.
expect to let it go because they're drunk.
I mean, I was bullshitting with him, but still, that doesn't mean it's okay to grab me and pull me onto his lap or touch my butt at Safeway. And when he was sober, it wasn't too bad. But his story before the lady came with all the cats, he was like kind of scared and on the lam. And I was either passing through there or dealing with vehicle breakdown problems at like First Christian. And that's a set of people I didn't want to cause them grief, but they barely, even before the lady came with her van and the cats, they barely would move. And they didn't get harassed all day.
First
You know what I'm
Christian
saying?
is the reason that Robert Farnsworth got away with committing a lot of the crimes against me, because it happened on his property, and they are mandated reporters too. All of the clergy are. I don't think Richard's a part of the clergy. I think he's a volunteer.
Yeah, he is. He does devote some time there to help out because, I mean, we have a different
When he
way,
came out,
but
he seemed like he knows what the rules are and what people are supposed to do, and that it's also not his job. Is the way that he acted about it. So I mean, he's nice, and he's a former Marine, and that I can get and I can understand. But I also respect people based on the decisions that they make today.
he gets really frustrated though sometimes. I don't want to be mean about Pastor Dean, but Doug, the real nice guy, I don't know. It's just hard. It's just hard. And some of those people, I mean, Richard can take care of himself, but some of those started treating him like a butler. He didn't have to go get anybody water. He pushed longer and harder to let people still use doorsteps. One guy, that was one of my safe spots. But, I could not go there after, that dude and his harassment, and I
So
don't
he's
know,
dealing
man.
with a lot of it.
Richard has tried to help a lot of people, and I've gotten on a lot of people. He is not your butler, man. And quit
Right.
harassing and menacing. See, and he dealt with that,
I get
But he
harassment and
still tried to
menacing,
keep
and
it
I do that
open
back to
for
people.
and he would push Dean, hey man, we should have this, be available for folks. But I don't know, man. It's just been a fucking ordeal.
Well, their mandated reporters are not trained. I talked to Eileen at the First Christian Church.
Huh?
She is a mandated reporter, and I don't think Richard is. But she told me that they're not trained in mandated reporter
I don't
training,
know if I
and they're
know
required by
Eileen.
law to have that.
Oh,
She's the lady with 3 daughters who does leads at the First Christian Church. Her and her daughters and her mother. Her
the
3
one with
daughters
the
work
hair
at,
and the makeup, and she
yeah.
sings. I don't know if you've ever gone to church there, but and she has that one short daughter, and she's cute. And then the mom must be the one with the super short hair, I guess. I think I know which one you mean now.
Yep, there's all three of her daughters work at the Safeway Starbucks.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
But
so I have her recorded. I do record everything, like I said. I make sure
well,
that
sometimes
people are aware too, you know.
churches, like I think they try to be like a neutral, safe house to be able to talk, but a person that you work with it would seem to me, especially if you're working with them and seeking, life help or an ear, spiritually, but also just generally, and you're in a crisis, you would think that even though they're within the safety and realm of the church are trying to provide that for people, you would think that they'd be willing maybe to, hey, would you like me to sit with you? Or, would you like me to, hook you up with, the safe way to go about that? I don't know, man.
Well,
'Cause
the safe way to go about that is as soon as you go to them and tell them there's a problem. If that problem, I've got the paperwork in my car. I can show you all of the things that are considered crimes and abuse against at-risk adults. Most of the stuff that you've explained to me is on that paperwork as abuse against at-risk adults. The stuff that you told me about the police, about care, about these other places, and as well as Danelle Boggs, those all actually qualify as abuse.
like defamation of character for me, like when I was growing up, I had the rumors about me, but it's caused, like and grief within my family during divorce time, misunderstood or completely false things fed to my kids. Sometimes it can mess up a person's interpersonal relationships.
Where they
Whether it be
start
the
to care
person you
about it
like
as
to
a
say
criminal
hi to when
thing.
you get coffee in the morning, or your nearest and dearest, your livelihood, whether you own a business, have a chance to have a great job, or use the skills that you've studied and attained, to get a higher pay, or whether you're a bottle and canner. All those things
Well,
affect that, and my very life. Like you would not believe the threats and the. I mean, but I don't
they
know who
say
to
they
take
can't
it
do
to
anything
except the
about
top of the
slander,
state.
but the thing is that you can do something about slander in the criminal courts. Let's say if I was to go to town right now and start lying to everybody in town and say, all right, so I was out at Lori's son's house and Lori raped me like 5 times.
Right.
And, I didn't go to the police. I just ran around to all of the people that didn't like you and all of your friends and family and tried to gaslight you and said, hey, she did rape me. She did
Yeah.
rape me. She did this. She did
Right.
that. And then, they beat you up or they kill you or you lose your job over it. If you lose your job over it, that's not a big thing. That's a
Lost
civil
years of
thing
my
according
life
to
off
them.
that.
But because you're an at-risk adult, it automatically becomes a criminal act.
Well,
Because you're an at-risk adult, you
well,
cannot be expected to do all of the civil stuff for yourself. And as a result, anybody who takes advantage of you is taking advantage of that disability. And that's why APS and the police need to get
and then
involved.
you get chicken too because some people take your word at face value, and other people, and it makes it hard because whether I go in exacerbated or by just having someone disbelieve me, roll their eyes, all these things that I wish I was not seeing. You know what I mean? It makes it
When
a
your
lot
fear of the
harder.
predator overrides your fear of the police, that is when you go in, but that is the worst time to go in because you were probably just harmed by your predator, had your life threatened again, had your sister or your brother or your son or somebody just send you a message saying they were followed by police and somebody from Colorado or Nebraska or Washington State was threatening to kill
He
him.
didn't do anything to the guy that used to, he wanted to rape me while I smell his BO. Okay,
I keep BO and myself unkept so
but
that people don't want to have sex with me. I snort my nose to make
that's
sure
part
I'm
of why I
gross.
talk to me to keep them away, but also to stay focused and try to ignore them. But they take what I say because that's if you're not hearing what I'm saying, I always apologize. I give fair warning. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a
So
sign of trauma
like
that they need to pay attention
uh,
to, and that
uh,
tells them they need to listen more and not less.
exactly. So if a deep like my naturopath gets it, and he laughed too. Wouldn't that be a really whew? If I was delusional about a lot of this shit, but you know, um, it just makes it so much harder, and especially if you have to weed through a bunch of people that you already told your story to. Yeah, I might.
And they don't even remember half the
Well,
details, and
some of
half of them
it,
they
but
get wrong.
my
That's why it
privacy
needs
is
to be
not
recorded.
allowed.
And that,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
And there's a certain place I can go, but when they have people mobbing the doors, at least I can get some help, or I was through times of change. But when it's Women's Crisis Center, And during divorce time, I just up and today it was nice. I was glad because we used to keep in contact. He's a father of my second and fourth kids. But when it was his mother-in-law, a women's crisis center, I wasn't one of the ones lying and getting rent money and blowing it on other things. Some of the
Do we
ones
have a
actually
women's
lied
crisis
up.
in Tillamook?
Yeah, that's Tides of Change now.
All
But
right. Well,
when his
I knew about
mother-in-law
Tides of Change.
ran was a big mucky there. Whether I was going through abuses here or I escaped Salem when my husband went wonky and moved back home or was trying to, I couldn't get jack shit for help, but people could lie and get help.
Yeah, well, that's
And
because
then
they have the
some lied
resources to
and
go,
worked
and
it
that's
at
what a lot
both
of it
ends,
is
you
based
know?
on.
Or
When you
special
have to
pets
go
with
to,
the dirty dogs, like he doesn't like Michelle at all. She was a, and one of these chicks I could have been set up. My car had been screwed off. I was going through this, and this, and all sorts of, theft and harassment and horrible stuff, right?
I lost the other
And
half
I
of my
get there, I
cigarette.
have my church, phone. He wanted to help me. Tides of Change. They said Kara had the funding. So during that COVID time, we had a big old fire. My physical health, which isn't documented as much, uh, was at risk, and so was the rest of my health. She's like, Laurie, I just got back from lunch, and then she starts talking to a favorite of hers that works the system, and I like the chick. She did come back and apologize, but what a menace that one was. And then she just ignored me while I was trying to. I had tides on. I had this guy that used to be the postmaster in Bay City, and he was a veteran. He could see through the shit like other people couldn't. And I had every right, like a lot of those people that were like housed at Western Royal or whatever, they were not.
If you go in a state of
supervisory
crisis,
position
they treat you like you're
and they
crazy.
were horseshit. But my own physical, like even my lungs, I shouldn't have been on the streets. And I wasn't horse shitting, but like that one day, I should have been, given a spot, but she, and then dealt with the other shit. So my purse sat there for 2 seconds while I ran to get the paperwork in the car. She screamed at me about that. I still didn't get the help, whereas other people that weren't
People have resources to
in
help.
danger or trying got
People
housed there.
with friends or family who care to go in with them, and the resources to get to all those things, get those resources. But we, like me, living on $800 a month, I have to spend $400 of it keeping my vehicle running, and I got to spend the other $400 maintaining resources that I need to maintain in order to actually go to those places. But I still have to eat, so I ignore a lot of that stuff so I can still have money to eat.
Were you here when Kara was at La Tida on 9th Street temporarily before they fixed up their office and moved back to where they are?
No, but I did see the sign on the door.
Okay, well, the thing is that someone, I had taken a ride, I did them a
Oh,
favor.
could I tuck you out of a cigarette?
Yeah, mine are floating somewhere. Okay, okay. I did him a favor, and because I didn't want to go fool around with the bastard or take some dump truck ride, which I figure, oh, you're taking me clear up the trash, Brian. Luke's not real fond of Brian after what he's pulled on me. But so he drops me off at Care. When it's lunchtime, I said, dude, they're not even here. I can throw the paper in the box. I can do whatever, But and then he finished offloading the dump truck, right? And then he leaves me there. I had to still get to disability services or wherever else, food stamps, a bunch of shit on
paperwork's
foot.
important, but it's
And
more important
my
to go in
phone
with someone
stayed
when you
with
do
them,
it.
And this guy that used to live there, he even told Brian, hey, Lori needs your phone. He wouldn't give it back. Kara was calling about this place. I could have got to run a long time before any of this and all this other hell went through.
When it comes to this, the thing that they focus on is if someone goes in with you.
Me. Okay, and I kept asking him, which phone number is it? Because sometimes I'd have a prepaid or an Obama phone, and sometimes they'd both be gone, or sometimes one would be, or one would get cracked, and many were stolen. I've been frauded and shit. Well, they wouldn't give me the number to who keeps answering phone calls saying they're me. Oh, we called you, you answered. See, and then one lady ended up going to work for the hospital. She was going to give me the number. She was one of the newer workers. See, and
is there one of the church feeds open today?
Me that phone number, and my phone was clear of trash, and I could have had a pad way before that. See, when you tell them straight up, my phone's messing with this person. And so people are answering my phone calls. This is affecting me getting this place to live. God, it's hotter than hell in here. Anyway, so I'm gonna go outside for a minute and see if Luke wants to go anywhere. I don't know what time to tell you to schedule because I have to find my papers that I didn't really look at. And you know, I was getting far ahead on both ends and I got my car fixed. But now I might have to have an inspection tomorrow and I have to read that shit. Some of the papers have been bogus. So
the
my
four
head's
things I
everywhere.
need somebody to explain to them is that I am an at-risk adult. I am being abused, and they need to call Adult Protective Services as well as the police and have them coordinate together and meet me there. I'm trying to get a hold of a lady in Nebraska so that she can try to make the call with me just in case something happens, because I know life happens.
But be careful here because that's a really dirty system here, unfortunately.
So's Chapel and so's Boulder. Over 20 of the people that I told on are sitting in prison, God bless America.
But is Tuesday going to be too late so I can get through this apartment hell pump and try to find my paperwork? So I don't know. I don't know if it
Well,
was
I'm going
bogus
in
papers.
regardless tomorrow,
read
but I
one
can go in every
finally,
day.
But I don't know where I stuck them. And the lady might come in on her own time. I don't even know if they're in the office. Plus, I got to take a big fat nap. And I miss Zach. And my friend has already been to my house, left me a note. And I need help because sometimes I can lift it and do it all myself just because I'm strong-willed. And other times, I'm not able to do that. And I
when
end
your
up
body
hurting myself
quits, it
more.
quits. That's
So,
what I'm dealing with, is that they're running me around in circles that are physically harming me and mentally harming me and making mental damage. I mean, I have to be afraid to go to the police. I have to be afraid to go to any mandated reporter anywhere in the country because none of them are going to do their jobs without a friend or family member present. Not for a homeless person, especially if he's a man, especially if he's been called mentally ill, especially if he's trying to turn in the cops.
even if you aren't born with something or have gone through things before, like I tell people, one day on the streets, say you get butt hurt and go stomping away from say you have a family and you're living with them. You get butt hurt one day and just go stomping off, or your family gets a cob up their ass sideways and stomps you off. One day without being traumatized even, or witnessing a traumatic event
As a
can
homeless
change
person.
your whole physiological well-being, your whole chemistry, let alone many days in those situations, and people don't quite understand that.
There's
And
not a
they
day
want
that
to
goes
view
by that I
people,
don't have a
you know,
traumatic
don't have a
situation
roof
too.
as, oh, you just, you know, gave up, or you're just a flake, or you're just using. No, I mean, especially, you know, like my